Taking a look at another laptop that we invested in here. Unfortunately, we bought a laptop and then about 10 minutes later one of the other computers went down. So we debated a little bit as to whether to replace that desktop with another desktop, which we'd probably have gotten better bang for our buck, or to go with the laptop. And the guy who's in charge of those kind of things decided to go with the laptop. So let's take a look at it. I basically just grab it from our computer guy before he actually gets to do anything with it, so that we get to unbox it on video here. Now, looking at these is fairly boring. Unless you're actually buying this particular model, it might not interest you too much, you know, what's going on with this laptop. So what I hope to do in this video is something a little bit more, a little extra. I had a conversation with some people just a week or so ago, and we were talking about kids that are homeschooled and the kind of information that a person might need these days in order to you know, succeed in business and succeed in, you know, capitalist United States. And I believe, at least it's my opinion, that a certain set of tools, a certain set of knowledge is definitely worthwhile, if for no other reason, so that you you know that the people that you pay to do support for you are doing the correct job, and whenever possible you can do yourself what you'd otherwise have to pay someone for. And along that lines, knowing a little bit about computers is invaluable in my opinion. So many people think, computers, they're beyond me, there's somebody else who can fix them, let them deal with it. And to a certain extent I totally agree with those people, but on the other hand, you don't want to, you know, be at the whim of what they tell you is necessary or not. So we're going to take this machine apart and take a look at it, and that might be interesting to people who have this particular model, which I should probably double check on here. We're looking at a eMachine's E725-4520, the model KAWFO, and a bunch of serial numbers which I probably shouldn't post. And then we're looking at Windows 7 64-bit. We're looking at a 2 gigahertz dual core processor, 15-inch video card, 3 gigabytes of RAM, 250 gig hard drive, a DVD, multi-DL drive, and then a card reader. There's built-in wireless. There's no Bluetooth, which is kind of interesting. No cell phone modem or anything, and no webcam, which is a little kind of interesting for a laptop these days, but it's an inexpensive one, so I guess that explains it. And then it's got a 6-cell battery. So what we were just looking at there is some of the specs, and you can tell from that list of specs basically what's important on a computer, because they put pretty much the stuff people care about, or the things people request, on packaging like this. You know, most everything is thought out. So let's dig in. We've got this Just for Starters brochure, which is in, I don't know, a million different languages here. And I'm assuming it's probably telling us to unpack it and plug the battery in, turn it on. Oh, sorry. I guess I should go in order. We're supposed to unpackage it, put the battery in, plug it in, then open it up, turn it on, and start playing with it. But we shouldn't necessarily just turn it on and start using the battery. Most every laptop is like that. So we've opened it up. I'm guessing this is our laptop in some foam. In back it looks like we've got our cord. Up front here we have the battery. Under here we have nothing. In here we have some paperwork, no CD or anything. A little bit of addition to the paperwork. Then we've got our unit, our charging unit, and the wall cord. Well, that's in a Ziploc. I kind of like that, because then I'll use this bag for something, if nothing else, just to tie up some loose gears. But it's always nice to get a Ziploc where you can reuse it. Something like this with a hole in it, you know, it's kind of useless. So we've got a little bit of extra packaging, but not as overboard as I've seen with some. Not a lot of extra foam or weird stuff. Looks like it kept it pretty secure. We got this one at a Wally World, so, you know, a big box store. I can't exactly say they're going to be gentle or necessarily rough with it. So the last laptop we got from a big box store had a giant gouge out of the bottom. Luckily it didn't hurt the laptop, but we definitely took a little more scrutiny of this box before we got it. So it's an eMachines, which is basically Acer. So not a bad company or anything. Looks like we got plenty of cord there, really long. It's a 6-cell battery. Got our laptop in some foam, and it's sort of a weird circled, like a fish scale type, a dragon scale type of texture. If I can peel this stuff back, it's got like 3 different layers of stuff protecting it. I guess that shows it good enough. The store we got it at gives us a 15-day return policy, so we don't want to wait too long before we take a look at it. First off, it's not very heavy at all. It's fairly wide, so used to my little tiny Dell. I'll set that battery down. Now this one's got 3 gigs of RAM. Looks like we've got an opening here, probably for a hard drive, an opening here for RAM. There's little indicators there. Looks like our SD card is out front. That's kind of handy. Never had one in the front before. That's neat. Obviously it has a good spring on it, so we'll probably should put that back and not push on it so hard next time. Okay, that was definitely the wrong way to put it in. Okay, now I've probably lost it. So we've got the DVD player on this side with a lock, and on this side we've got power, network, monitor, a couple of USBs, microphone and a headphone, nothing in back, and just that card reader up front. I'll put this thing back in and quit fiddling with it. And then we'll plug it in like it asked for. Do you keep your wire ties? I always do. I don't ever buy plastic bags really that come with them. So I lost half the lights when I did that. This has a grounded plug, so I can't plug it in like some laptops into just a regular receptacle. Sorry, we lost some of the lights there. Now we can plug in that power, just like the instructions wanted. Lift it open here. Got another piece of foam keeping the keyboard from smacking up the thing. We've got another addendum, must read, make sure your notebook is plugged into power before you turn it on for the first time. We did that. Please use recovery should you ever need to. This one's software related, we don't care so much about that. So, just looking at it, first off, we've got a touchpad, 2 buttons. It's telling us we've got a 15.6 inch, we've got a T4400 CPU, 3 gigabytes of RAM, a 250 gigabyte hard drive, DVD player, and a multi-card reader. Looking like a full keyboard, looks pretty nice. Got the number pad over to the side, num lock, delete, pause, break, all separate. I like to see all those keys. Nice number pad right here. Fan of the keyboard. So far I'm really liking it. So let's turn her on. This is Windows 7. Takes a little while to set up. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to go ahead and drop the camera here a little bit, get a better angle. So basically I'm not going to, like I say, show you how to set up a laptop. People are getting bored of that. Most people already know how to do it, and I'm really not an expert at it to try to walk people through it. However, I did want to add a little bit more to this video besides just unboxing this one, and that is to explain again that there's, in my opinion at least, a certain amount of skill that someone might want to have on a computer, just so that they know they're not getting screwed over when paying for service. And that would be the basic understanding. You've got a motherboard, you've got a processor, you've got RAM, you've got a hard drive, you've got your peripherals like video cards, mice, all the stuff, printers, all the things that we use on our computers. Knowing how those things work, how they talk to each other at the basic level, is definitely something I think that's worth knowing. Reason for that is if you have a certain symptom on your computer, it should be fairly obvious, just like with your car. It should be quite obvious what things that could be and what things it's definitely not. I can't count how many people I've talked to that have had a computer that wouldn't start, and as a result they bought a new computer, wiped their hard drive, just crazy things to try to solve a problem like that, which is usually hardware related and usually fairly simple to fix. It's fairly inexpensive a lot of times, without destroying data or hurting data or losing data. So I'm not going to try to make this a how-to video, but I did want to at least touch on the idea that there's a basic level of understanding of computers that is definitely valuable to have. And even myself, I took Microsoft A+ training, which is, at least at the time, was a training that would teach a person to put together a computer from parts. And I took it in the early 2000s, and at that point it was a lot cheaper to put a computer together by yourself. So there was some advantages to it. It was also pretty complicated. Wasn't exactly new territory, but there was definitely not the systems that are in place today. Computers weren't at the same level they are now, and they were definitely growing at a faster speed. At least it seemed like it at the time. So basically, when I took that A+ level training, it taught me how to put together a computer. And the reason I'm explaining that is that was a long time ago now. It seems like could have been almost 10 years ago. And I still remember the crude basics of that, and that allows me to know, okay, when this problem happens, when this symptom happens, I need to react, this way or that way. I don't need to necessarily remember the fine details or the exact details of how to fix every single problem, but just the general troubleshooting steps are basic and have gone, been relevant through time, through Windows 98, 2000, XP, Vista, and now 7. So I think some of these basic knowledge things are worth pursuing. There's definitely lots of ways to learn this info for free. There's YouTube videos for sure, and other online sources to learn stuff. So again, it's something that I think is worth it if you're at all, involved with computers. Knowing a basic level is something that you may consider spending a couple hours a week until you come to a level where you're, able to read a bunch of kids talking about gaming computers and keep up with them. When you can get to that level and not necessarily care or understand and not necessarily care or understand exactly what they're talking about, but to understand that they're talking about video